Okay, it's the appointed hour, so welcome everybody to the August 12th meeting of the East Hempfield Township Planning Commission. I'd invite you to join me with opening the meeting with a pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You a regular member and alternate? You are. Okay. So this evening, just to let everybody know, we have a couple regular members that are absent. So Mrs. Reidenbaugh will be substituting as a voting member. She's regularly an alternate. So the four of us will be voting on this evening's agenda items. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the last meeting, which was on June 10th, 2026. Does anybody have any corrections, additions to those minutes as submitted? If not, I'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend that we approve the minutes for dated June 10th, 2026.
I have to abstain.
I think,
Should we table them to the next meeting?
I think we should.
Mhm.
Yeah, the three others were not at the last meeting, so we don't have a second. So we're going to, could we change that motion to a table, Mr. Volpe?
Yep, I make a motion to table the approval of the minutes for June 10th, 2026.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Volpe, seconded by Mrs. Reidenbaugh, that we table the approval of minutes from the June 10th meeting due to a lack of quorum. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. Okay, so we'll take that up next month. First action item for tonight is 1905 McFarland Drive. It's a final plan with some waivers, modifications.
Good evening. My name is Chris Monahan. I'm with Mac Engineering, here representing the applicant on 1905 McFarland Drive. The project is on a 6-acre lot just east of here on McFarland Drive. It's within the Enterprise Zoning District and has a Greenway Overlay District as well. The plan, it's a final plan. It proposes construction of almost a 62,000 square foot facility to be used as general industrial. The lot's serviced by public sewer and water. We did receive capacity approval letters last month from both of those authorities. So in a good stance there. We have gone through 3 reviews with DMA so far, and the last review that we got last week is fairly straightforward. Most, if not all, the items we will comply with. A few of the major items left is the NPDS permit. We've reached administrative complete on that, and we're still waiting on our technical review comments from the Conservation District. The other item is the traffic impact study. The applicant is contracted with TPD to get that complete. So with that, we do have a handful of waivers / modifications we would like to request in this project. If you'd like, I can run through those right now, or if you had a...
Yes, typically we would like you to go through them one at a time, and if any of us have questions, we'll ask them before you move to the next one.
The first waiver request is the geotechnical report. The stormwater on this project is only detention. The facilities, I should say, there's no infiltration facilities proposed for this. So typically you want a geotechnical report when there's, we're within cars within the county. You don't want to concentrate stormwater to certain locations. This site actually is proposing detention facilities, so the stormwater basins are underground, they're lined, so there's no infiltration in the basins. And this project has a surface water just to the plan east of the development, and we're proposing a riparian forest buffer, which is typically DEP really wants to see those over your historical structural stormwater structures. So with that riparian forest buffer, we don't need to infiltrate stormwater with facilities. That's why we're asking for a waiver of the geotechnical report requirement. It's just not needed. Next one would be environmental impact study. We did do I think the ordinance states that you can allow for a modified scope, modified impact, environmental impact study. And we did that. We provided that to Scott, and he recommended granting this waiver request. Sidewalks on both sides of the new street. This is one that we're also requesting a waiver for. There's no sidewalks out there for the existing facilities adjoining this property. It is on a cul-de-sac street, so there's really no ultimate benefit of adding sidewalks. And based on that justification, Scott had recommended granting that waiver.
Okay, I have a question. Maybe Nate can answer it. There's been, a lot of development back in McFarland there. Do we have any deferrals on sidewalks for anybody else?
I'm pulling up Scott's letter right now, but I believe we recommended a deferral of those. We would want sidewalks if we call that in.
It doesn't say that in his thing. His comment says, based on the scope of the project, we recommend this request be granted. I thought typically we did referrals. I just wanted to make sure this property wasn't different than the rest in that area.
Bear with me one moment while I pull that up.
Pardon me?
Let me pull Scott's letter up real fast.
Okay. The other thing in his comments is, we recommend that this request be granted as it relates to the installation of sidewalks along the access drive. This is something else that would address the street.
I'm not sure about that one. Later on in the letter, he does reference the deferral of sidewalks on the property. I don't have an answer for number 3.
Okay, so number 3 is only related to the access drive.
Yes.
And the street will be taken up later on.
Yeah, number 7 looks
Okay.
like he mentioned sidewalks.
Okay, fine.
And the next one is the buffer planting strip. So to the south of this property is a small portion adjoins a residential property. There's already existing wooded vegetation there. So we're requesting a waiver for the typical landscape buffer for that with the condition that will preserve, and it's on the plan, we'll preserve that wooded buffer that's existing.
So if it all dies, you have to replace it. Okay.
Next one is certification from a landscape architect, just due to the nature of the site and minimal area for landscape design. We did the design in-house. That's on, I think, sheet 8, if I remember. So asking for a waiver of the requirement for specifically the landscape architecture certification.
I have a question related to that specific waiver. I looked at the plan and I looked at your interior landscaping of the islands and the species that were chosen. And I noticed that there are silver maples planted directly on top of the trench. Silver maple tree is 60, 70 foot tall, huge root system. It's directly on top of the trench. That's likely can't happen. So, whether that was looked at or not, there's also landscaping planted within a sanitary sewer easement. I was unaware if, from reading the review, if LASA was ever given the plan for review and LASA ever commented. There's quite a few things that are within the sewer easement that's there that I think need revised. Example being, there's a trench that goes within the sewer easement. There's 2 inlets on top of the sewer pipe. That trench that's within the sewer easement is 3 to 4 feet from the center of the existing sewer pipe. Lateral movement of the water in the trench through the sewer pipe is likely a problem, and that water won't stay in that trench at the location it's at now. There are quite a few things related to that sewer easement and the design that look like they need modified.
Okay, I don't have an answer if LASA did actually perform a review of the plans. I know we got the approval letter for the capacity, but I can follow up and make sure that, see if they review the plans. If not, we'll make sure that they review them. And in terms of the tree, we can certainly look at revising the landscaping plan to fix that.
My question would be, if you can't do the landscaping in those islands, does that introduce an additional waiver or modification to this approval?
It may, if we can't. I'm not sure if the ordinance specifies what needs to be landscaped in the islands. I mean, we can certainly find a different species with less invasive root systems and ultimate height.
With 1 foot of cover over a trench, you really can't plant any tree. It would destroy the trench.
Yeah, we can look at moving the trench around.
Okay.
We're pretty limited on capacity, I would say, on.
Could we pull that up to the right plot plan here, or the right?
You can see the.
Take it a moment to catch up.
What page is he on?
That's the correct sheet.
Jump to it.
Don't look like it.
That front of the building.
Page
Josh,
21.
21.
No, we're fairly, I mean, we don't want to have the trench any closer in the building than it is. But I do see your concern over the landscaping, and
The inlets on top of the sewers probably can't happen either.
yes. Well, we can revisit that with LASA and see about what they would allow, and if it constitutes a waiver request, if we can't meet the interior landscape, then we'll probably have to return and request a waiver for that.
Okay.
Thank you for the
Yep.
comments there. Is there anything else on that one? Okay, the next one is just the minimum 150-foot driveway separation, just due to the layout of the existing cul-de-sac, McFarland Drive, and the existing businesses and residents around there. We physically can't, and to meet the turning radius requirement, we can't meet the 150-foot driveway separation, so we're asking a modification for that one. Scott's there, make sure. Did I jump ahead? Oh, no, we're good.
Number six. Number 6.
Yep, number 6. So, yeah, we're requesting a modification to 85 feet, 94 feet, 135 foot instead of the 150 foot. No questions on that one. The next one was the deferment. So just deferring the roadway widening, sidewalk curb, and grass strip. We're happy to do that if the Board of Supervisors with the township, ultimately requires that in the future, but right now we'd like to defer it.
Just a question, again, about how this compares to neighboring sites. There's a comment in here that says, currently McFarland Drive is classified as a local road, which requires 50-foot right-of-way, 26-foot cartway, whatever. The applicant has made a request that McFarland be classified as a collector road, which requires a 60-foot right-of-way, 30-foot cartway, so forth.
I mean,
So, go ahead, I got a question for you.
Go ahead.
on
I
the
mean,
reclassification-
is the classification of McFarland from 50 to 60 feet, local to collector?
The board did approve reclassifying it.
So it is.
Yes.
So the whole thing, it's, again, it was a question of how's that versus the neighbors. Because the
whole-
right-
The whole stretch of McFarland is classified as a collector.
So does that mean everybody else has expanded their right of way to 60 feet?
They come in with the land development plan.
Yeah, that's the
Okay,
grandfather.
so for now, it's kind of,
Yep.
okay. All right,
That one?
no,
The-
the deferral, yeah.
The next one is just having a survey of 200 feet outside the property boundary. We worked with Scott on this one and we just proposed where our survey extended to. And just because it's no on-lot sewer, no on-lot septic, we don't have to worry about isolation distances with wells and other on-lot septic systems. He recommended granting that one as well, on the condition that we'd show
Condition-
on the plan. and
Conditional, yeah.
That's it for the waivers and modifications, deferrals.
Okay.
Um,
You've seen and reviewed his subdivision and land development comments. Is
Right.
there anything there that you can't accommodate or comply with?
No, everything is, see if there's anything worth mentioning here. All will comply. Like I mentioned, we got the water and sewer approval letters. We'll check on that LASA easement and talked about the NPDS permit. We are waiting the PADP approval on the sewer. The mailer, sorry, is sent in, so we're just waiting for their response on that. I wouldn't anticipate any issues with that. And then the plans, in terms of the Ms. Garber, I did send those to her last week for her to review for the Township Emergency Management Coordination review. And then the stormwater comments, we already made adjustments on the plans. We didn't submit them yet, but just minor cover on one pipe really was what the issue was, and showing a sanitary crossing on the other. But yeah, that's really it.
Okay, Nate, a question for you procedurally here. I see that the extension for the supervisor's vote is till November 9th.
Say that again?
I see that they've extended the time extension for when the supervisors have to vote on it till November 9th.
Yes.
That's correct. In lieu of Mr. Boltby's comments and questions, I wonder, is it possible for us to vote on the modifications, but table the plan until we get clarification on all of his issues?
You can, that's what I was discussing with Mr. Boltby.
Oh.
If he saw a path of approval as is, based on last review and modifying the landscaping plan, but if they need an additional waiver request, they would be in front of you again. Anyway,
Yeah.
they won't know that until they evaluate.
Yeah,
the plan.
I'm just afraid that it's not just one little issue that needs to be verified. So we could make it conditional on that. It seems like it could be a snowballing or a cascading issue here that may, like you said, require additional modifications. So
You
what
can-
would you think about,
You can
that
act
proposal?
on the waiver modification request, or you can table the whole thing and give them time to make these corrections.
Josh, is there anything of those modifications that your questions would affect?
So I brought it up at the modification request where we don't have a registered landscape architect sealing the
Right.
plan. Reason being, I don't think the species and tree locations are appropriate.
Okay.
That's really the waiver that relates to them. The other things are LASA approval.
But that would be a plan approval issue,
Plan-related
not a
issue.
modification.
Right. I'll tell you that I think there's ways to move this plan forward and then make the modifications and grant approval conditional on certain things. I'm okay with that, but at the same time, I'd be okay tabling it to see what it cascades down to.
Yeah, I think that's, in the next 10 minutes, can we identify everything that could possibly
Yep.
need to be clarified? And if we miss something, then it's not in the conditional
Yep.
Well,
motion,
and
so.
his comment on, can trees exist within
Right.
certain areas, that could lead to another modification request.
Right.
If they evaluate that comment, so.
So which modification was that, Josh? Was it, including signature, seal date, landscape, number 5? So would the commission be okay with acting on the other, 7 modifications and then tabling
Mhm.
number 5 plus the plan itself?
I would.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that. Because then he doesn't have to come back and read it all over.
Right.
Do you have any comments on that?
Okay. Does anybody in the audience have any input, questions on this plan or on Zoom? Any hands up on Zoom, Nate? Nate, any hands on Zoom?
No comments on
No
this.
comment. Okay. All right, so what I'm asking is a motion on modifications 1 through 4 and 6, 7, and 8. Couple of them are conditional.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to recommend approval of requests 1 through 4 and 6, and conditional approval of number 7 and 8 for the 1905 McFarland Drive final plan, Township File 25-1502, subject to staff and engineering comments.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mr. Spangler, seconded by Mr. Boltby, that we recommend approval of modifications 1 through 4 and number 6, and conditional approval of modifications 7 and 8, subject to staff and engineer comments. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? No. So that would be 4-0. And then we need to address modification 5 by itself.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to table decision for modification 5 for the McFarland Drive plan.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Boltby, seconded by Mrs. Reidenbaugh, that we table the motion, or table the modification request number 5 until further information is provided regarding the landscaping and easement infringements and so forth. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? That would be 4-0. All right, and then the plan itself.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to table any recommendation on the 1905 McFarland Drive final land development plan.
I have a motion by Mr. Volpe, seconded by Mr. Spangler, that we table the final land development plan for 1905 McFarland Drive pending clarification of the issues that were brought up at this meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? That would be unanimous as well.
If you can get these items rectified by the end of the month, we can get it on next month's planning commission meeting.
Okay, thanks for your understanding, and hopefully you'll get things answered quickly.
Hopefully this next one goes a little quicker, easier for you. Um,
Next one is like 135 Route.
yeah.
Oh, okay, you're not sitting down, huh?
Yep, so would you like me to start? Sorry, I didn't mean to jump ahead on you.
Go ahead.
No, please.
We're just gonna pull up the plan, but go ahead.
Yep, the next one is just a minor plan. It's adjusting a lot line between two existing lots. There's no development, no earth disturbance, no change of use or anything. The larger plot that you see up there is a vacant lot that's just used for agriculture right now. The one in the bottom right corner of that sheet is existing lot. It's got some encroachment on this larger lot, and that's ultimately why we're here tonight to request approval or recommendation of approval on this plan. It lies within the agricultural zoning district. We've gone through 3 reviews so far with DMA, and the comments are very minor. Really nothing else to address on the plan itself. We do request one waiver on this one, and it's just to show the plan scale. We believe that this plan scale really represents everything for what we're trying to accomplish for this plan. And I believe Scott recommended approval on that one, recommended be granted.
There were a total of 4 modifications.
A couple more waivers on here that I forgot. The other one is, would you like me to jump in the waivers?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Please. The second waiver is same one we mentioned before about the survey. We provided aerial imagery, and that seemed to satisfy Scott's comment on that one. And that's included. It's the 4th sheet in the plan. I think it's the 4th sheet or the 2nd sheet. Yeah. Third waiver is the
Frontage improvements.
yes, we created a deferral exhibit, and Scott appeared to review that and recommended that would be granted as well. So there's 2 exhibits that we prepared, one for along Route Road and then one for along Lancaster Road. One is a PennDOT road, so that'll be subject to PennDOT approval when it comes time to make those improvements. And then Route Road is another one that we're deferring. So four waiver request or 2 waiver requests and 1 deferral. Subdivision worth mentioning. Just we'll comply. Last one, number 4, just proving that there's a visible house or
Street
address number on the facility, and we've provided that to Scott. Just didn't make it in the letter.
Okay.
So that's all I have for that one. Happy to answer
Okay.
questions you may have.
Did you cover the wetlands report?
Oh, yes. That's Scott reviewed that, and we just had to have somebody sign it. So Wayne Bowen in our office, he's done those for us and he signed it, and I'll provide that in the next submission.
Thank you.
Does anybody in the audience have any input on this plan?
No one on Zoom.
Okay. Then we're ready to move on with the waivers modifications.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to recommend approval of requests 1 and 2 and conditional approval of 3 and 4 for the 135 Root Road Lot Add-on Plan, Township File 2608.01, subject to staff and engineering comments.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Boltby, seconded by Mrs. Reidenbaugh, that we recommend approval of modification requests number 1 and 2 and conditional approval of modification requests 3 and 4 for the 135 Route Lot add-on plan, subject to staff and engineer comments. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, that would be unanimous. And then the plan itself, we need a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to recommend approval of the 135 Root Road Lot Add-on Plan, subject to staff and engineering comments.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Boltby, seconded by Mr. Spangler, that we recommend approval of the 135 Route Road lot add-on plan, subject to staff and engineer comments. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That would be unanimous. Okay. Okay. You don't want to go for a third one here?
See ya.
Two.
Take care.
All right, number 3 is RCW Racket Club West Athletic Club final plan.
Good evening, Amanda Groff with Harbor Engineering here on behalf of RCW Athletic Club. We were before you back in, I believe it was January for the sketch plan, granted the waiver of preliminary. A little bit of background as well, this property was rezoned back in October of 2025. And it's now in the Enterprise Zoning District. It's a 6.5 acre property, currently has indoor and outdoor tennis courts as well as a padel court. We're proposing a building addition for some indoor pickleball courts, as well as reconfiguring a portion of the access drive and adding some more parking. The property does have public water and sewer. We did recently get the capacity approvals from both LASA and City Water. Those are still noted in the DMA letter, but make sure that's passed, or we sent that along to them today, I believe. We do have 2 subsurface infiltration beds proposed underneath the access drive and the parking area to handle the stormwater. The NPDS permit is in progress. We're still waiting on that approval from the Conservation District, as well as a general permit for a pipe that we're relocating. So we're waiting on DEP for that. A few things to note from the DMA letter from July 31st. We did get the lighting plans updated. I have those along tonight if you want to take a look at them. But we were able to address the DMA comment about not having any foot candles over the property line. So we made some adjustments to the lights there. Like I said, we have that if you want to take a look at it, but we are able to address that comment.
DMA can look at it. DMA will look at it. and
Right.
decide.
Correct. And then the other one I wanted to bring to your attention, there was a zoning comment number 1 about the off-street parking. The analysis that we did was different than what's laid out in the ordinance. So it was to be discussed with the Board of Supervisors, but I just wanted to bring that to your attention as well. So basically, we prepared a parking analysis based on their existing facilities and then extrapolated that for the additional pickleball courts based on what they see now. So we felt that that was more accurate in this case than using the ITE traffic manual. So we're asking for basically an alternative approach to the parking analysis.
Did you do them both ways? Did you do the calcs both ways?
We did,
Roughly, what's the difference?
I think it was a little bit higher with the ITE, and I should have brought that along. We're also a little tight on space, so I think this was like, I don't have that full calculation, but I can double check that and make sure I send that.
Yeah,
over.
I suspect the issue might be on the one hand, if there's special events or something here that draws more, I'll say, spectators than the typical day's play, there could be an issue with parking. On the other hand, the township would like to see less paving. So I think that's a good discussion that you have with DMA regarding the comparison of the two numbers
Right.
and make sure that everybody agrees that you're heading in the right direction, okay?
And I believe we talked to them about it, but that was a month or two ago. So I'll make sure I go back through and well versed on that, and I can revisit that with them as well.
Okay,
And then beyond that, we have quite a few modifications. I can go through those at this time unless there's other
Yep.
questions.
again, same as your predecessor there.
Sounds good.
One by one.
Quite a few of them will be similar to what you've already
Sure.
heard. The first one's regarding the plan scale. The existing conditions plan is at 60 scale instead of the 10 to 50 scale. Next one is showing items within 200 feet of the property, asking for a modification. Again, public water and sewer for this property as well as the surrounding. We have a survey for the entire property, just not 200 feet off site. The next one is regarding sidewalks and trails. That's a waiver to not have sidewalks along the entirety of the access drive. So we have sidewalks shown where the building addition is. And then to the west of that is where the existing building is. So that's all existing. And then to the east of that out to the road, the parking, well, the access drive is existing, and then the tennis courts are to the south side of that. And then we're adding parking on the north side, and there's only a very limited strip between the existing access drive and the tennis courts, and there wouldn't be room for sidewalk there. And if we'd add the sidewalk on the north side, basically on the other side of the parking spaces, then we'd be eating into the landscape buffer requirement, which I'll get into.
So the sidewalk couldn't be placed to the north of the parking, is what you're saying?
It could, but we're asking for a waiver for the buffer planting width requirement. So if we added the sidewalk there, the buffer would be even less. Okay.
Go on.
The next one is pertaining to the second access requirements. We're asking for a waiver of this. We did send some additional information to Diane, the emergency service coordinator, and there was some discussion, but basically there is a right of way to the south, kind of in the middle there.
Excuse me, are you reading from the DMA letter or your own modifications?
Mine in a different order than yours. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, we're bouncing around, so if you could refer to DMA's answers, or
I can do that. I
Thank you.
apologize.
appreciate.
I was looking at our list. So, let's see, that's number 3 then.
Number 3 is number 3 was the trip. Yeah, that's the emergency service. Okay. That's one you were just talking about.
Right, number 3 is about not having the second access drive. And there is a right-of-way off of Mayfair Drive to the south that.
And the emergency services coordinator has reviewed it and is okay with it.
Thanks, Nate.
And then the next one regarding the buffer planting strip, so that's the one that I started to mention before. So we're asking for a reduction in that, partially because there's an existing vegetated tree line along that northern property line. But there's also limited space given the existing features on the property.
Is the vegetation on your property or the neighbor's property?
Some of both.
Okay.
It kind of weaves through there. There's
Okay.
also a stream just to the north, that's on the neighbor's property. But yeah, depending on which trees you're looking at, some of them are on our property, some of them are on the neighbors.
Just curious, with the earlier plan, we talked about condition that if they die, they need to be replaced. Would it be appropriate to do something like that here? Since you're relying on existing,
We are also planting some trees, just not the full buffer
the full
width.
buffer. Okay.
So I think there's a row pretty much the whole way along there, at least where the access drive is right near the property line there at the building addition.
What about the south side? Buffer between the new building and the properties to the south? Is there no buffer required there?
We have a privacy fence proposed on that side. And that was discussed with Scott as well, because it was determined that the existing building face could be held on that southern property line. So we're actually in the setback, but since we're continuing the existing building face, it's compliant from a zoning perspective because it's a building addition. So there's limited space on that side. That's why we are doing the privacy fence there instead of the landscape screening.
And I think that's in our ordinance, that a privacy screen, a physical screen can replace
They,
planted buffer.
they do have an option for fencing to substitute some of it.
And that's what they're gonna do.
Yep.
Okay.
And then number 5 on the DMA letter is the planting island shall have a shade tree, as well as shrubs and ground cover. So we are asking for a modification to not provide any trees within the landscape island. The reasoning for that is because we have some existing utilities. The existing sewer line runs through those islands. The stormwater bed is also partially under those islands. And then there's a proposed water line that'll go through there as well as some lights. So there's really not any room left.
Could you zoom in on that, on one of those islands, please, Nate, and explain those interferences you just talked about? Because I mean,
Nate,
the island is, the island's what, 20 feet or 18 feet deep for a car?
It's
Give me 1
20
minute, I'll
feet.
pull up your plan set.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Give me 1 minute, pull up your plan set. I think I only pulled 5, 6, and 7.
Oh, okay. While he's doing that, yeah, the island is 20 feet.
feet.
That's what the parking spaces are. The sewer line kind of goes through the middle. The water line is now 5 feet from the sewer, so it's at the very,
It looked like there were
basically
two
bottom
or
of the
three
island.
lines there, and I was just curious what they were.
Right, so it's water, then sewer, then the light, and then the infiltration bed.
Wow. While this is all getting pulled up, one question that when I look at this plan that, immediately came out to me related to this specific waiver is looking at the access drive and the side that the parking was placed on. Why was the parking chosen on the opposite side of where all the pedestrians are going? Meaning, if you put the access drive where the parking is and the parking where the access drive is, all the pedestrians wouldn't have to cross the access drive? And would you be able to plant in the planting strips then because the trench is not underneath it? Right now, we're creating a scenario where everybody that parks has to walk across the access drive to get where they're going. You flip the parking to the other side, all the pedestrians stay off the access drive. The islands are on the opposite side of the trench, and trees can be planted in the islands.
I think it was originally done that way because the access drive is existing, so we were trying to maintain as much of the existing access drive as possible without having to basically disturb that entire length of access drive and then have to do additional stormwater because of disturbing that area.
Is there also existing parking there too?
Not in that area. So all of the parking is on the west side by the existing building. There's a portion that's gravel right now, kind of in the middle. And then basically where we're adding parking now, they park on some of that as grass currently.
I think Josh has a good point there. I mean, you've got it macadamed already, so you maybe have to dig up a little bit to put islands in, but the driveway or the access road would just become parking. And then put in the access road where the parking is now.
Not necessarily reconstruct it, you're saying just basically carve out the.
Yeah, I don't know from a civil engineering standpoint whether you have to reconstruct it, but if it's good enough for an access way, it's probably good enough to park.
Yeah, 'cause then
Just,
you don't have-
just cut some notches out for your islands and plant trees and.
Literally, I think take that and fold it up.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I think the only thing that you're requesting that really gives us any leverage to say you're not following the ordinance is the planting in the islands. Otherwise, the plan's fine. But at the end of the day, I look at it and say, we're putting all the pedestrians on the opposite side of where the traffic's gonna go. People are gonna be crossing that nonstop
Kids.
Right.
for everybody that comes in, and it just seems like you can make such a safer environment. People pull in, get out of their car, walk to where they're going, not cross the access drive. But, is it a deal breaker to me? No. Is a tree in an island the end of the world? No, it's pretty secluded back there. I mean, I drive past this every day. I live on this road. So I do know there is significant traffic that comes out this access drive at certain times when everybody's leaving, the turning left and going to the stop sign. They have to wait there in that access drive in order to get out. And, 5 o'clock hour, it happens a lot where that backs up on Running Pump Road and people are waiting there. If you add more traffic, do you have stacked parking back through where people are trying to cross and stuff like that? It's not the end of the world. But at the end of the day, it just seems like it could be so much more pedestrian friendly if the parking was on the other side.
Yeah, and actually, Josh, if you think about it, the request for the waiver is a self-imposed hardship. Not something that couldn't be worked around. So I think you got a good point, and I can't believe it would be that much more work and money. Just flip it. I mean, you're paving almost the whole thing anyways, so, yeah.
And there could be other reasons, I don't know.
Right.
One, at the trees being close to I forget the name of the game, the
Courts.
padel courts or whatever they are there. If that creates a mess on the courts, you know what I mean? Are you then flipping the lights to the other side that are in the islands? Does that affect, what they got going on those courts? You could have other reasons for not doing this that I don't know about. I'm just looking at it from a surface level and saying, okay, this could improve pedestrian traffic as it relates to the vehicular traffic.
Right.
Nate, is there another slide to the right of that shows the intersection with Running Pump? Oh, there it is. Okay. Next one.
That's the existing condition, but we're not changing, at least right now, we're not changing the access drive there.
So your parking would come about halfway down,
No,
halfway to the east? Are those,
it's past the padel court, so it comes pretty close to the frontage. It's within about 60 feet of the frontage. There you go.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Yeah. You,
So
you
it would
may-
probably be a little tight with the entrance there.
yeah, you may lose
Have to
one or two parking
reconfigure a little
spaces to
bit.
get up there. Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Might have some wiggle room because the padel courts are at least further from the access drive than the tennis
Right.
courts are.
Right.
So we might be able to angle it basically from the tennis courts towards running pump. That would be kind of a reconfigured area potentially.
Is there a lighting system there now as it exists?
So the only lights there now are on the existing building for the little bit of parking on that side. And then the padel courts have lights, but the outdoor tennis courts do not have lights. And the access drive doesn't have any lights currently.
Hey, what's the current status of the timetable on this? I don't see anything about an extension in DMA's letter.
I think we sent an
Yeah,
extension
Ms.
letter,
Groff
but I
did
don't
send one
remember.
in,
I think it was relatively recently that we sent that in.
Yeah, because otherwise it would have expired today.
It's already expired, yeah.
Oh, yeah, yesterday.
I think it was 90 days. I just don't remember when in July we would have sent that over. It might have been right after,
right after, DMA's letter.
Which
That's
was,
probably also
which
November.
was July 31st, so.
I believe it was sometime in July that we would have sent it in for 90 days. So
So again, we have probably till
The
what,
90 days.
October, November, something like that. I don't know. I think this is one opportunity where we could ask you to take a look at it. And again, we could table it tonight. We could talk about some of the modifications, but I think it's an opportunity for the client and the township to work together and maybe create a better plan.
So I definitely can look into that. The one question I have would be back to the sidewalk waiver that we had talked about before. And part of my reasoning was that when the parking's on the north side, it didn't make sense to have sidewalk and it eats into that landscape buffer. If we swap it, would you want to see the sidewalk south of the parking then, or not necessary still? I guess I want to weigh your thoughts on it would still,
So the parking would, the sidewalk would be to the south of the parking then.
well, I guess
Right,
it could
right.
be on the north, but it wouldn't make sense on that side
That would be
then
right,
either.
that would be right down the street then. or
Right.
Right down the access drive. No. Take a look at it.
Okay.
Let's see what makes sense. Flipping it over gives you more options, so.
Yeah, I just wanted to circle back, see your thoughts on that
Yeah.
as well.
Well, we can avoid making a motion on that one now. And maybe all of them, maybe I'll just table everything. I'm not sure if there's any reason to push for any of these. I guess
Sidewalk
number
falls
one,
into two,
yeah,
three.
number one is just the plan dimension. That's no big deal. Uh, You got the EMS stuff.
The 3 probably won't change no matter what, because even
Right.
if we swap it, you're not gonna have a second access.
1 and 3 would be okay.
And then 6 is the deferral of roadway improvements, curb, sidewalk, grass strip.
So that
Four,
won't change.
well, four would be the same though, right? That's the,
Unless you want to hold off on 4 because that would probably depend on whether or not we try to keep the sidewalk. It would affect the width if we had the sidewalk or not.
okay.
Would you like them to take a recommendation on the ones they can, or would it be easier just to
Table everything. I
do
don't,
it all in wall fell
Coming
swoop?
back, we could probably just do everything all at the same time. Although, if you're okay with it, I'll just keep going through them in case you have any other feedback. But
yeah,
I don't.
sure, that would be great. Go ahead.
Okay. So I think we're on number 6 would be the deferral of the roadway improvements. We did send a sketch over as well. And we had talked to Scott about this, so we only showed it on the south side of the access drive because of the configuration when, yeah, when Running Pump Road was reconfigured there. The right of way and the property line don't align anymore. So really the south side is the only portion that makes sense at that point. Is that acceptable the way we have? I don't know if you saw that exhibit or not.
I don't believe I shared it
Um,
with them now.
I'm not sure I did.
You have, I guess maybe the layout plan, it would be sheet 6.
Yeah, we have it.
On here.
So yeah, it would just be on the south side there of the access drive. As you can see where it basically follows Running Pump Road. But then north of the access drive, it's not aligned anymore. Are you okay if I continue?
Yeah, I was just checking off which ones
Okay.
we needed to.
Sure. So the
Okay.
next ones are stormwater waivers. Number 7 is regarding the loading ratios. We're slightly over the required, we're at 4.3 to 1 impervious for SCM3 instead of 3 to 1 impervious for karst areas. And the geologist did support that as well. The next one, number 8 in the DMA letter, is regarding the riparian corridor easement, to not have the 35-foot easement since the stream bank is on the adjacent property to the north there. And that stream is already in an existing drainage easement on the adjacent property. Next one, number 9, is stormwater conveyance piping not having 1 foot to subgrade for the last pipe from IC2 to end wall C1. We have less than 1 foot of cover, so we have a class 5 RCP pipe there.
I don't know specifically where that is, but would that be affected by any change in the access drive location and parking?
Probably not.
Okay.
It's very close to the building addition, so
Okay.
yeah, I don't think that would be affected at all.
Okay. 10.
Number 10 is regarding the stormwater pipe size. The minimum is 15-inch. We're asking to have some 6-inch, 8-inch, and 12-inch. And that's really roof leader conveyance piping into the infiltration bed. But it is under the access drive, and it would still be under either the access drive or the parking, depending on what happens there. Number 11 is the one I mentioned before about the plan scale, to be at 60 scale instead of 50 for the existing plan. And then the last 2 are very similar regarding the hydraulic grade line calculations. Number 12 is for the 25-year storm, that we should have minimum of 1 foot of freeboard within the structures. And then number 13 is for the 100-year storm to not surcharge the inlets. And so this is to the rear of the proposed building. Basically, there's a storm pipe that comes from the south and goes through the middle of the property to the north right now. So with the building addition, we're going to route that pipe around the building addition. And as part of that, the existing pipe is too small. It's a 24-inch. So from where we're rerouting it, we're having a larger pipe that goes around. But basically it's backing up because it's too small. So it would surcharge out that those couple inlets that are mentioned there, C3, C5, and C6. We did confirm that it won't affect the building, so the inlets are a foot below the finished floor elevation, but then we have basically high points in between all the inlets, so it would convey the water around if it would surcharge the inlet in a 100-year storm and go around the building addition. It also wouldn't affect the properties to the south, because they're all higher than the building elevation itself, the existing and proposed. And DMA supported all of the modifications that we had requested.
The surcharging of the 100-year storm stays on your property?
Correct. And then we didn't have any concerns with addressing the rest of the DMA
DMA,
letter.
Okay. All right, does anybody in the audience have any input or questions regarding the plan? Yes, sir, would you please sign in and come to the microphone? I don't know, I didn't see him.
Bob Johnson, Stevens Street. I couldn't help think about the parking when I was sitting back there. So a question about the new building. I would assume you would still want the players to go into the main building to pay and things like that before they went into to play pickleball? Yeah. Okay, yeah, what I'm thinking about is just if the cars were right against the building, like it really doesn't help that much because I think you still have to get out of your car, walk down the road, and then go in and pay. You know, you're not going right from your car into the building. So either way, I think you're walking down that pathway. And then the old tennis courts have the parking like on the far side. So I wonder when you look at it more closely, if it's more safe to have the parking continue on the other side. So it's one long row as opposed to people getting out of their car and then having like blind spots while the traffic's going that way. I'm just trying to help you here. I mean, it just seemed to me, and also the possibility of the car, you know, hitting the building. If you're parking right there, someone's going to bump into it someday. So they're trivial points, but I know, Jim, you're looking at me funny. I'm not sure.
Well, I'm just looking, the new building doesn't have parking in front of it either way.
Oh, okay. I thought you were
So
suggesting.
right now that shows the original building and existing parking except for the handicap. And then let's get it to go here. The addition doesn't have any parking.
All parking is on either side. It's either by the existing building or it's by the outdoor.
Okay. All right. So there was no proposal to put parking against the new building.
Nothing.
Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't have the whole perspective sitting back there. Sorry.
And it's difficult. This one is so long that there's only one page in here that shows the entire property.
3 sections. Yeah.
Okay.
Page 22.
Long and narrow.
Okay. So where was the spot that you were encouraging the parking to be on the,
Look.
the south side of the chart?
The right half of that,
This is the outdoor courts.
the right half of that on the way, all the way down to the access drive. So the pickleball courts are to the right of that plan.
Okay, so you would have the parking right next to the pickleball. I mean, right
And the
next to
tennis.
the tennis court.
And the
tennis court.
pickleball, right there.
The
Padel courts, whatever.
We're just talking about the padel courts now. Like, that's the only place you're proposing the
No,
parking?
the whole, all of the gray park, we're suggesting that all of the gray parking you see up there at the top should be flipped to the south, next to the outdoor courts and the padel courts. And the access drive should be up towards the north property line, north of the property line. So just flip it up and down.
Okay, so then the people watching the tennis would have a car between them and watching it?
No, I don't know where they're watching it from. They wouldn't walk it, aren't gonna watch it from the access road, I hope.
Okay. All right, maybe everything I said was meaningless, but I was trying to
Hey.
figure it out. And how many pickleball courts are in the new building? All right, thank you, and sorry.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Nope. Anything on Zoom?
No comments on Zoom.
No comments? Okay. So if I went through these modifications, I think we could make a recommendation on everything except 2, 4, and 5. I think those are the three that are affected by the possible change. So we could, well, 7 through 13 are for approval and 3 and 6 are for conditional approval.
Would that work for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can table them.
Right. Okay, so let's take the ones that we are gonna make a recommendation on first.
Mr. Chairman, I propose a motion to recommend approval of waiver modification requests for 1, 3, 4,
Wait,
excuse me, 1, 2,
no,
excuse me, 1.
1, 7 to 13,
7 through 13, and conditional approval of 3 and
6.
6 for the final land development, subject to all staff and engineering comments.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Spangler, second by Mr. Boltby, that we recommend approval of modifications 1 and 7 through 13, and conditional approval of modifications 3 and 6, subject to staff and engineer comments. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, that would be unanimous. Now we have 2, 4, and 5 to vote on.
Mr. Chairman, I make a recommendation to table recommendations 2, 4, and 5.
Subject to the new plan, revised plan possible. Okay.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Spangler, seconded by Mrs. Reidenbaugh, that we table action on modifications 2, 4, and 5 pending review of the layout of the roadway or the access drive and the parking areas. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? That'd be unanimous. All right, and then the plan itself, I believe we're gonna table it.
We're tabling that, right? Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to table the approval of the RCW Athletic Club Final Land Development Plan, Township File Number 26-1-02, subject to staff and engineering comments until such a time that the remaining waivers and modifications have been determined.
Okay, we have a motion by Mrs. Reidenbaugh, seconded by Mr. Spangler, that we table a recommendation on the final plan for Racket Club West Athletic Club Final Land Development Plan until we get further discussions regarding the parking and access drive. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? None. 4-0.
And then
Okay.
Nate, you said end of this month to be on next month's meeting.
Yeah, that should be fine. If you can get it a little earlier, that'd be ideal, but
See what we can do.
Right.
Thank you
Thanks.
very much.
Thanks for taking it
you.
back. Thanks for taking it back to your clients too. I hope they appreciate where we're coming from, and hopefully we come up with a better plan.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, fourth agenda item is Cheswick Town Center. We have a sketch plan.
Good evening. My name's Mark Kaplan, Kaplan Stewart. We represent Cheswicky, the owner of this property. And when we started to plan to proceed with this, we looked very carefully at your saldo and saw the invitation to submit a sketch plan. And with the possibility that I guess the board could waive preliminary plan and we could go to preliminary final. So that's one of the reasons for this application. The other is to get this plan before you and to get your comments. So you see the plan up on the screen, and Bill, where are you? Bill is the principal author of this plan, so I think it'll be more productive if he takes you through the plan and describes what we have in mind.
I have a question for you. You pronounced it Cheswicky. Is that the correct pronunciation, or Cheswick? Okay, I just wanted to clarify, because I've always been calling it Cheswick since 15 years ago. So I just want to make sure we weren't
Somebody once
mispronouncing it.
said to me when I started to practice law, number one rule, learn the name of your client and how to spell it.
Right, you got half of it right. Anyway.
Come on, Bill.
Thank you very much. Bill Fredericks, RGS Associates. As you mentioned, 15 years ago, I think it was probably longer than that, this property was rezoned. I think you probably have the history there. Before you tonight is a sketch plan. The property is approximately 57 acres. It's bound by Route, I'll point back here as best, I assume. Route 30, you got Marietta Pike to the north, and then Running Pump to the west. Or sorry, to the east, wrong direction. Site's approximately 57 acres. There are 2 zones within the property. There is a boundary, it's a light gray line. It's probably very hard to see where you are. There's a light gray line right there and a light gray line on this side here. That is the RM, Medium Residential District. The rest of the property is in the CBC, the Community Business Center Zone.
Excuse me, Bill, how do you break those two down? Can you give me a rough breakdown of the 57 acres? How do you break that down?
Of what's in the
Acres for the
Yep.
2 zones.
I believe it's approximately 7 acres in the, I can find the exact number,
No,
but I believe
don't worry about it. That's close enough.
Yep.
Thanks.
Bill, the RM is unusual. Zoning district is only like 170 feet.
it's actually like 130. So what Mark's referring to is the depth between, say, the property line and the zoning line
Right.
is approximately 130 feet. And I didn't do this plan 20 years ago when it was rezoned, but essentially the thought was, from a planning perspective, is to create a buffer of residential, which is what we have here in these buildings, and the residential zones adjacent to it. So we have approximately we have 236 apartment style units proposed, as well as a mix of commercial uses, retail, restaurants, office uses, medical office is a big one now. None of the commercial uses are defined. There's no signed tenants or anything, but it's a mix of those types of uses. In the bottom left corner are 2 proposed hotels. And then you have restaurants and office space throughout. The apartment units are in the dark blue here. There's some different styles. The my chart. The R1s are 20 units along the property and a slightly smaller footprint. I think they're 10,000 square feet. And then you go to there's an R3 building here and then some R2s internal. The R2s have planned parking underneath, and those would be 3 stories above. So our maximum building height in the RM district is 35. In the CBC, it is 45 feet. There is a clubhouse anticipated for the apartment units that's shown in this area here with some green space and a potential building. We're at sketch plan, so there's a lot of work to do in terms of stormwater, but generally the site drains north to south towards US 30. There is a large culvert, I think here-ish, and there's some smaller ones to the side, but our main drainage area is in the middle of the site. You can see a large proposed stormwater facility in the middle here, and then just some smaller ones scattered throughout that will for sure need per current DEP requirements. There is an existing sanitary sewer. I'm really losing it here. I think it's right here. I think that's where the existing ravine is. There's existing sanitary sewer that we would tie into, and then Marietta Pike has water along it. Marietta Pike is a state route, so we would, our proposed connection is across from DeWitt, which is this cul-de-sac right here for our Marietta Pike connection, and then there's a connection out to Running Pump Road right here. That's the high level overview. Again, we're at sketch plan, so we're here to get your feedback. We are in receipt of a DMA letter, which is super helpful. Things to clarify. We'd probably meet with township staff again just to make sure we're all on the same page before we submitted a formal plan development plan. But overall, in working with Scott, I think he's, has some things for us to clean up, but generally says it's in conformance with the comp plan. So.
Well, there is one issue with which we disagree. As Bill pointed out, when this property was,
Move to the mic.
I'm
Mike,
sorry.
That's okay. So,
My clients, the Nardo family, has owned this property for 50 years or more, and were participants in the process to rezone this basically to the community business district. And the RM district, as I tried to point out before, only 130 feet wide, was installed, I guess, along those parts of the border of the property where there were residential on the other side. Now, in both the RM and the community development or community business, apartments are permitted. They're fungible. They're at different densities. So when you go to calculate the overall density of the property, you multiply the 7 acres times one number. One of them's 4 and one of them is 5. And when you add them all up, you get 236. We have laid them out in a fashion that's almost identical that the plans that were used for the discussions 15 or 20 years ago. And the comments were that, oh, well, you've got this little strip of 130 feet, you get X number of units from that. That's all you can put in that part of the property. Well, it makes no sense. This is one overall development, intended to be one overall development. So we have laid this out, taking the entire 236, and we have laid it out in the best fashion that we can. There is no requirement in the ordinance that in a situation that's split zone, that we have to put the same number of units in this strip or in that strip. And I think that I'm going to ask Joel Snyder from RGS to make the observation that Joel made to us the other day when we were going through this.
I think when we were, Joel Snyder with RGS Associates, just as we've been talking about this site, when you look at the RM zone and how it's been placed on the property, and when you look back to the plans that were used as exhibits when it was being rezoned, I think the intent to me was clear that from a planning perspective, as Mark said earlier, it was just to make sure that there was residential against residential. But the RM zone boundary that's been placed there has been done in such a manner that you couldn't develop it on its own. Like, you couldn't just subdivide off that RM zone and develop that piece. It has to be developed as a part of the overall, as this plan is suggesting. Right.
And so, I'm sorry for.
No, that's okay.
And my clients dug up this drawing that was used in the discussions of how to rezone this. And as you can see, they laid a band, really, almost protection band, right along or across from the residential. And I've given the township, excuse my back, I've given the township two cases that I think apply. We got a letter in the last 2 or 3 days from the solicitor rejecting that logic. But when you look at the plans, it just doesn't make any sense. As Joel said, you've got 2 strips there, or a strip that's 100 and, Bill, what'd you say, 130 feet? What are you going to develop in 130 feet when you've got to come in from a main access? It's obvious that the RM has to be developed as part of the whole. So I don't know where we go. I don't know where we go from here tonight, because we just got this surprising rejection. But that's the only issue. That's the only issue that we have. And the consequence of that, if we had to live with that, it's a loss of 60 units. Remember, Bill? It's a significant number. It takes us down into the 170 number of units. The optimal size of an apartment development for efficiency, operation, is in the 200 to 250 unit complement. So, as I say, we're very pleased with the overall review. We're very pleased that DMA recognized that it's not only is it zoned, but it's also in the comprehensive plan. So that's what we're here about tonight. Glad to hear your comments, your questions, and we're going to go back and we're going to engineer, and we're going to file in due course full land development plans.
Okay, thanks for the background. Scott's letter did bring up some issues with setbacks and screening and things like that.
Bill's looked at all of that. We can deal with all of them.
Because I think, you know, this has been a difficult property to get a solution to for the client and for the township. So
Difficult problem.
it is. And so I think it's going to take a lot of back and forth and cooperation and maybe some unique designs. I don't think the township will get everything we want, and I'm pretty sure the client will not get everything he wants. there's got to be some compromises in here to satisfy the ordinances. And I will say without a lot of variances or modifications,
We contemplate no variances.
that would be great.
We absolutely contemplate no variances, and the goal is to do it plan without any waivers. I don't want to be back here like the last two people giving you a list of 20 waivers.
Right.
We'll work that out. I am curious when you say what the township wants or, what the township is looking for. I've been involved in this property now for almost 3 years, and we have gone through, if we've gone through one iteration, we've gone through 10 iterations to make this work. And when I say make it work, it is a sketch plan, but there's been a lot of work on angles and roads and all those things so that people aren't slamming into each other. And we put the hotel in one place. We put the apartments in the middle. We have I believe, a well thought out entrance that comes in through, I believe, through the commercial area. And we have over on, I guess that's the east. Hopefully we'll be able to fill that area up with retail. But in today's world, you don't get any retail tenants until you put a shovel in the ground almost. So if there is something that, quote, the township is looking for that's not in the ordinance, we'd like to know what it is now if you're privy to it.
No, I'm not privy to something outside of the ordinances. But with Marietta Avenue or Pike or whatever you want to call it, Route 23, it's a major artery. And so we're going to need to make sure that traffic is accommodated. We've got residential on 2.5 sides of your property, so we need to make sure those people are not impacted.
Is that a lighting plan?
Later on there would be, yeah. So, I just ask that you work closely with the ordinance and try to work out as much as you can with Scott or with DMA before you come back here, because we don't want a list of 20 or 30 issues. We'll end up tabling that or sending it back or something. So it needs to be worked out before it comes here. And you talked about a waiver of a preliminary plan. Personally, I can't see supporting that for a project of this scope.
And they didn't ask for one with this request.
Pardon me?
They didn't ask for one.
I know,
with this
but in
request.
It was
entree,
mentioned.
he mentioned that it would be a possibility, and I think it's too complex to go with this. That's me speaking, not
No, I agree.
not
No,
anybody
I
else.
agree as well.
In today's world, with the required detail, the preliminary plan, it's practically a final plan anyway.
That's fine.
The difference
Yep.
between the preliminary and the final is the outside agency permit, so.
And I think that's important though, because if you do a preliminary plan without a lot of input or without consulting with DMA and getting things right, and we say, no, we don't like it, then you have to do it all over again. So, like you said, it's almost a final plan. So it better be, the basis of it better be right, and everything needs to be in detail.
Well, let me ask a question, and not to belabor this, but it's my understanding that this plan has been reviewed from a zoning point of view.
I can't speak to that. I don't.
Well, we've gotten a number of comments. You said before, yeah, we've got a trash compactor that's in the 75 foot. We'll have to move that. We've got a corner of a building that's over here. We'll have to move that. But there, with the exception of this issue about the number of units, we've got a pretty clean review. We don't have to spend time talking about what Scott said. It's fair and we can live with it. And we intend to engineer this plan. So help me when you say work, that's not going to come out right. I was going to say, help me when you say work with Scott. We obviously,
Well,
absolutely
Scott-
want to, but
Scott just looked at a sketch plan, okay? He didn't have 50 sheets of drawings. I assume he did not have 50 sheets.
now you've got 6 sheets. No, absolutely.
Okay,
You're right.
so there's a lot of detail that goes into those other ones,
Oh,
okay?
yes.
You heard discussion tonight on a little driveway about how big the pipe is, how much covers on the pipe. All that stuff is details.
Well, trust me, we will not have those questions. We will deal with those questions.
Okay, great.
I hear you. I hear you. Appreciate your time. And we'll try and work out this issue about the number of units.
Obviously, that's the question.
Yeah.
And it's got to be resolved before,
we agree.
before we act on anything, so,
Thank you for your time.
okay. Does anybody else?
Yeah,
Have comments,
I have a
questions here?
couple things that I just want to bring up and see where, and maybe they're more for the township staff. But, you know, there was a big regional traffic study that was done as a part of, running Pump Road realignment. You know, there are schematics in there about, on-off ramps to Route 30. That were looked at, thought about, whether they happen or not. They may be an off just going east or west, so forth. I live on Running Pump Road. I also know that we are stuck with Roarstown Road and the ability to improve it so that traffic can flow better on Roarstown Road. One option to alleviate traffic on Roarstown Road for the municipality is to begin to think about and entertain alternate exits off of Route 30. Where the more we pinch around this area, eliminates that option. So my recommendation would be to communicate with the township and see what opportunities we may have to relook at the availability to get access off of Route 30, whether it's partial, on, off. At the end of the day, we have a huge project coming in Manor Township, huge project that's going to pile traffic onto Roarstown Road. Every additional project is going to create this extreme traffic scenario on Roarstown Road. What are our options? This is one of them. So what I just said, some kind of exit on ramp from 30 to Running Pump Road.
Across our property?
I'm not necessarily suggesting your property. I'm suggesting that area where Running Pump Road crosses Route 30 is on maps and on studies in the township's office.
I hear you. I don't know what you're asking us to do.
I'm asking for those maps, reports, official maps, or traffic studies that were done regionally to be looked at and taken into consideration.
Look at them, certainly look at them. I mean, we're gonna have to get a PennDOT highway occupancy permit anyway. There's gonna be a scoping meeting. There'll be a scoping meeting that the township participates in. There will ultimately be traffic impact study. So, of course, we're going to have to look at that. How far PennDOT or the township wants to go into or on our property is something that we'd have to hear and see whether we can accommodate it or not. So, yep, we're going to look. Thank you. Any other comments?
Yeah, that's my main concern is traffic. When I look at the rezoning that was done for RM, you know, when my history of working in this industry, the intent of that was to have a slow down scaling of two adjacent properties.
I'm sorry, say that.
So you said it's a 130-foot strip compared, the intent of rezoning it that way was, okay, we got single-family homes over here. We want it to drop down slowly in use type. That appears to be the intent to me of what was done back in the day. This plan is going from single-family residential down to apartments.
That's exactly what was contemplated.
That's just what I look at, the intent of that zoning.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you very much.
Stacy?
I was just going to add to what Josh said. There is a comment in here about encouraging the applicant to have a conversation with PennDOT. And I would suggest that happens before the scoping meeting. To exactly the point that he was making, that if there are future plans that PennDOT has for extending additional on and off ramps from 30, it's better to know that earlier than to be spending thousands and thousands of dollars on land use plans that you ultimately cannot put together.
No question.
And that's not the township, that's PennDOT.
Yeah, no question about it.
Okay.
And we will do that.
I would also say that it's not insignificant that the number of units is actually aligned with what the ordinances are. That's not something that we can just easily brush under the rug.
Say that again.
The number, you had mentioned earlier that there was, the big disagreement is based upon the number of units allowed per acre. And my point is that that is not insignificant to us.
Number of units, the 236 is what's allowed on this site. What is at issue is where we have to put them. And it is significant to us that there is nothing in the ordinance that directs in a mixed-use development like this, that where that strip was put out there, that we have to put a certain number there when the ordinance doesn't have that requirement. So
Apparently, we're going to agree to disagree on that one.
that's fine. I have seen no logical reason yet. We just got the solicitor's letter, but that's not the kind of cooperation we were hoping for. So we'll have to deal with it.
So, talking about the two different zones, it brings up another question. So the RM zone has certain setback requirements and so forth, and the CBC has certain setback and buffering requirements. When I looked at this plan, I'm not sure I saw the buffering between the CBC and the RM zone. It looks like you take the buffering and the setbacks all around the perimeter of your whole property and not the zone. Is that true?
Well, there's no such requirement that you're talking about.
I believe there's a requirement between CBC and any residential use to have buffering.
Well, we've been through that.
Mark,
Go ahead.
yes. So the one requirement in particular is 75 feet is the building setback. So between this gray line here and these buildings beats that 75-foot buffering requirement.
But where's the
Well, it's
no, that's a setback you're talking about, 75 feet
correct.
setback.
Correct.
But what about buffering?
There's no buffering requirement between the CBC and the RM.
There isn't?
Not
I thought between, I'd have to go, I thought I went through the ordinance today. There's a table that says between these uses and these zones, there's requirements for an A or a B buffer.
from a zone or a property? Because that's, I think, what Mark's getting at is.
I think it was zone, because it was the table, across the top, it had the different zones. And down the left, it had the uses.
So what you're.
So for instance, it said, I think in the one case, it said business. And then over under the column that would be CBC, it said NA, not applicable, because it is the same business. But where it said, I think then it didn't specifically mention RM, but I think there was another statement that talked about all other zones.
Between
That was
non-residential.
not pointed out by Scott, and Bill's talked to Scott, and Scott's comments about breaking the buffer are a small number of items that we're going to move.
Okay,
But.
I'll have to
but
reread it.
I just want to make sure. So we have apartments in the RM, we have apartments right next to them, and we have the driveway for how you get into both of them. Where would a buffer be appropriate?
That's my question. Where would it be appropriate? Is it between the zones or is it between the residential,
And
the
commercial.
blue and the commercial? Because I don't see the buffer between the blue and the commercial.
We believe that we have applied, had it reviewed, and we don't think there's a problem.
Okay.
We good?
Anybody on Zoom? Want to weigh in?
No comments on
No
Zoom.
comments? Anybody else in the audience want to comment? No. Okay, well, we take no action on sketch plans, so have fun and we'll be looking to see your plans.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. All right, is there any old business? Nothing was listed. Did anybody have any questions on Nate's project report for August?
I think it's pretty light for August.
Yeah, couple zoning things.
Yeah.
What, the one was denied and they brought it back and they denied it again? Is that the one?
So the initial denial was because their request essentially crossed municipal boundaries.
Hmm.
And they wanted to take that request as is to the zoning hearing board after staff said they should fix that. And they got denied for it. They brought it back. There were some good comments from neighboring properties that were taken into consideration that they didn't show up the first time around. So. denied
And then it
again.
was denied again. Interesting. Okay, I assume there's nothing else on Zoom for public comments?
No.
Okay. Hearing nothing, this meeting is adjourned. 8:44.